It's a great pleasure to join with the people of the peninsula here, as has been said, the Fannin Peninsula and the Roskill Peninsula, to come here today as Taoiseach of Ireland to simply, I hope, indicate the appreciation that you all feel for the wonderful occasion that we've been able to celebrate today. And there is a name given to this sort of work. It's called infrastructure. It's a very soulless word. It's a word that people don't get their head around very easily. But the reason why we have a bridge today, the reason why we've changed a 50-kilometre run into a 350-metre walk or drive, is because there were people in this area who had the faith and the belief in this community being able to organise, being able to put a case to government and to local authorities that would merit, on some occasion, as quickly as possible, such a magnificent landmark, as has been said, to be provided to the people of this area. And there is no doubt that it will change the lifestyle of many people for generations to come. But most importantly, it provides an access, an easier access, for those who are not from this area who could come, we hope, to understand and to meet with the people, and most of all, to appreciate the beauty that is here up in the peninsula here in Donegal. And I, being from a flat part of the country in the Midlands, well away from sea and mountain, it's a great pleasure for me to come here as Taoiseach to simply say, well done to everybody who's been associated with it. And in particular to come and say well done to Harry Blaney and to the Blaney family. I've known Harry for some years, and I knew Neil T, Lord of Mercy, as well. Many's a good chat we had about times past. But it was a great pleasure because Harry Blaney was always, in all of my dealings with him, an out-and-out gentleman, and a person who was very much of the people and with the people, and a man who never lost faith and who had the political skill and acumen to position himself between power and resources. And when you're able to position yourself between power and resources, you sometimes get results. But it is true that, quite apart from his own sponsorship of the project, this was a project that thankfully, in the good times that we've enjoyed, was possible to be done. Without his sponsorship, of course, without his efforts, it may not have happened as soon as it has, and that's for sure. But it is great to come here and to show and see that it is valid that it is done. It is right that it be done, because it opens up new possibilities. You know, when you listen to, in my job, in my perspective, or whether there's a thing called in Washington, D.C. called the Beltway. And the Beltway is about that little intangible ring around the centre of power where Capitol Hill and the White House and everywhere else and all the media, and they all talk to each other and they have a great chat. And they think that they represent, or that they signify, all that's happening in the whole of the United States. I think it's important to remind ourselves too that the Beltway in this country doesn't exactly exemplify all that's happening in this country either. And that there are communities throughout Ireland who are active, where the spirit is strong, where the sense of community is real, and where people have a great sense not only of pride in place, but a great sense of faith in the future, a future that they want to fashion in their own place. And that, at the end of the day, I suppose, is what effective, vibrant republicanism in its proper sense is about. Citizens empowering themselves, working and being facilitated by the state and its authorities to develop their areas for the benefit of themselves and their children, to strengthen communities. And there's no doubt that the two communities on both sides of this bridge have been handed a greater sense of viability, a greater sense of interaction, a greater sense of the future by this vote of confidence exemplified by the opening of that bridge today. And it is a wonderful thing to see. So many people, as I came up to the bridge, I said there'll be a nice crowd here. I thought I was coming to an Ulster final in Clonus. And to see so many people who had that joie de vivre, that good day today, despite the rain, despite the bit of cold, despite looking out over the bay and the mist, there were people who were heartened by what was happening. Heartened that something that was in their minds as a concept that could bring benefit had become a reality. And that through our democratic life, through the effective public representation of the people that you put into positions of authority, both local government level and central government level, that this day has come to pass. And that is what our democratic life is all about, and that is why we must never take it for granted. And there is no part of the country more aware of the need not to be complacent about our democracy, of course, than places such as this. And now we're starting to think in terms of catchment areas rather than boundaries. We're starting to look across all parts of the country and recognise that there are things that we must do together, that is through cooperation, that we will work together in order to strengthen all, that we will do so out of a sense of mutual respect and a common destiny that will see us, for the next generations to come, leave behind the past and fashion a future for ourselves. And today is part of that making of history in Fanad. And as having spoken to Hugh Friel about that incident that his late mum was talking about, it is a world that is so distant from the reality of our young people today, but one that we must remind them of as a metaphor for the progress that we make today. And to have in Hugh somebody who has been an outstanding businessman of his generation, who was part of a business that grew from a few small dairy farmers in Kerry to become an Irish multinational, the world leader in the food ingredients industry, that is simply another example of how enterprising, how full of possibility, with the right leadership and with the right coherence on the ground, that we can achieve so many things together. So let us celebrate today, not simply because we have a beautiful bridge, but because what it signifies for this community, that sense of possibility becoming a reality, that fact that we will work together and remind ourselves that in present adversity, in the present time of adversity, with all of the turbulence and difficulty that we see worldwide and at home, there were generations before us who, with far fewer resources, but with a proud heart and good values, looking out for each other and working together, brought people into this world and reared them good, decent, honest people of this country. Let us now, with all the resources that are available to us, make sure we maintain the values that make living worthwhile anyway. And that bridge, for me, signifies the sense of community that must return to our country if we are to overcome present difficulties and look back in a few years' time, having made those relatively small sacrifices compared to previous generations. And we will look back and say, yes, this generation was challenged, this generation had enjoyed the good times, but this generation stuck together in solidarity with our weakest and our most vulnerable so that we could come through and be ready to go again. That's the spirit of Ireland, that's the spirit of Donegal, that's the spirit of Fanad and Roskilde Peninsula. That's why we have this community centre, and I commend Jimmy Begley for all he's been doing in relation to this centre, in relation to the accordion band, and thank you very much for the Guard of Honour that was provided, and for the Fanad Development Association. Long before people talked about bottom-up development, we had Muintir na Tíre, we had people who were sitting down together saying, what are we going to do about changing the realities that we confront today? That is what we need to see in Ireland more and more. And it heartens me to come here outside the Beltway and stop listening to the doom and gloom merchants incessantly. I have to listen to them sometime, to listen to them incessantly, to be able to come here and meet where the true soul of Ireland resides, where the true sense of possibility remains, and where you people continue to say, yes, we will progress, yes, we will work with our politicians, of all parties and none, in the interest of building a decent life for ourselves and our children. Cogordagus agus Godéishib Slán. Very much.